Hello and welcome to another edition of the SportsHeads, the Hurry Up edition. I'm here joined with my band of merry men, Dan Flui and Sam Morgan. How are you guys?
We're good.
Doing well, mate. Doing well.
And obviously all the baggy eyes and everything is because we've all been staying up watching the elections. It's been thoroughly exciting. But even more exciting, we've got our old friend, one of the squad, Hannah Wilkes. How are you back?
Who are you calling old?
What? I didn't mean.
I knew that was coming. I smelt that a long way.
Rude.
Mate, Hannah's younger than all of us, mate.
We're here with our young, amazingly beautiful
Sky
Sports NFL presenter.
Thanks. Oh,
Hannah
sorry.
Wilkes. I don't know which way this is going to be edited, but however, it doesn't matter. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Like you, a bit bleary-eyed from just constantly watching the news for the last, how many days has it been now? Like 48 hours and counting? More than that. I don't even know.
It is Groundhog Day, definitely. I'm loving all the coverage, definitely, and it is exciting. And I'll switch in between because it's a time of coming out. It's Friday morning, our time, or Friday afternoon, just early. So I've been switching between the game yesterday with the Packers and the 49ers to seeing Mr. Trump's amazing speech. So it's
Interesting use of the word amazing.
I don't know what to say or what I for all of our Trump supporting friends, we love you too. We're here for you too. You love NFL, we love NFL. So we'll leave the politics aside.
Let's leave the politics here because you don't want to get me started on politics.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of thoughts this week as well.
Yeah.
So obviously last night the Packers tore the 49ers a new one, unfortunately, for the 49ers fans. They seem to have to patch together a team again and again and again. Injuries upon injuries. I feel really sorry for them because literally, you go from being a Super Bowl team to, obviously being one of the favourites to be able to come back to literally having no team to be able to put on. I think if we all walking past the stadium, I think we'll all get a chance to play as well at this rate. But obviously Jimmy G has been quite disappointing for them. Obviously, he's not just the form. Obviously, he's been injury prone. I would say, some would say. But I just, there's just talk now with, them looking to maybe move on from him. They're looking to look at other options. Matt Ryan apparently is supposed to be coming up. That might be one of the favourites that they might want to move into the 49ers camp. But Hannah, I'm going to come to you first of all. Do you feel the 49ers should move on from Jimmy G?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? And it's a question that's kind of haunted him for a while. Even before this season, there were rumours over the summer that the 49ers were potentially interested in Tom Brady, and we're in that conversation. Mm-hmm. I think there is obviously they've been ravaged by injuries this year. There's like Super Bowl hangovers, and then there's what's happened to 49ers this year, which is so beyond their control. Like they're in the worst shape of any team. But I think when it comes to quarterbacks, you ultimately want someone, don't you, that is reliably healthy, can throw the ball well and consistently, especially when there's a good scheme around him and doesn't cost you too much money. And if you look at those three as the sort of barometers, I don't think Jimmy G currently fits for the 49ers. He's someone that clearly struggles with injury. If you look back at his career, in 3 of his 5 seasons, he's suffered injuries within 3 games. He played 2 for the New England Patriots when Brady was suspended, went out with a shoulder injury. In 2018, he did his ACL after 3 games. He stayed healthy last year, and then this year, week 2, got a high ankle sprain. Came back 4 games later, he's got another high ankle sprain. So he's clearly someone that does not stay healthy. And I think it's really hard to build a team around a quarterback that is consistently injured. I think as well, he's not someone I believe in as a reliable passer as well. If you look at how 49ers play the game, they run the ball a lot. it's the kind of scheme that with the right QB, you're just going to thrive. But they won the NFC Championship game last year and he only threw the ball 8 times.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl, he threw it a lot more. But I think if you look at his last sort of 10 throws of the Super Bowl, he only completed 2 of them, made 24 yards and threw an interception. So I don't know if he's the caliber of quarterback that a Kyle Shanahan scheme kind of deserves and fits. And I think as well, he's expensive. If they keep him for another 2 years, I'm just going to check this. I think it's something like 48 million they're going to have to pay him if they keep him another 2 years. They could let him go at the end of this season for 3 million. So it starts to just become, it's kind of simple economics, right? If you've got someone you've got to pay a lot of money, you can't rely on to be healthy and doesn't throw the ball as consistently as you'd like, he doesn't tend to throw it very long. I don't know. He's one of those quarterbacks I think he played great last season and he's had great flashes, but that is very much to do with the Kyle Shanahan offense. So I think there are other options out there and I definitely wouldn't be surprised if now is the time they start looking elsewhere.
Dan, what say you, sir?
Mate, I have to completely agree with Hannah. She's probably said most of the points I want to say. Jimmy Pornstar G needs to be traded. I did not stutter when I said that. Jimmy Pornstar G, he's got some bad decisions. Look, in all fairness and in all seriousness, I think Jimmy G, his decision making is poor. You've seen it too many times. He should have won the Super Bowl when he missed that open shot to the receiver. I think it was this game where he had a QBR rating of sort of like 4 or 5. So it was shocking. I think, like kind of said, look, Kyle Shanahan's coming from Mike Shanahan. That offense is predicated on the running backs. You've seen it in Denver. You've seen Clint Portis. You've seen TD. You've seen these great running backs do well in Denver because that system predicates on it. The shift motions to get the running backs in. It's not a dink and that. You just go straight into the holes. And Kyle Shanahan is probably one of the greatest offensive minds in the NFL outside of Andy Reid and Sean McVay. So, I think for him, he needs just competent quarterback. And when he's played with a competent quarterback, look at Matt Ryan. Boom. Super Bowl, into it. Now with Jimmy G when he was not injured, boom, Super Bowl. So I think he needs that. Look, and also at the same time, I need someone to be, they always say in NFL, the best availability is the best availability. No, the best ability. Yeah, is availability, basically. Basically, what I'm just trying to say is availability right now. And Jimmy G has no availability whatsoever for the 49ers. I think they should move on. I think they might have to go for Matt Ryan in the Falcons, or a decent shout out might be Sam Darnold for the Jets.
Or I've seen a name thrown around, and you think with how they're playing this season, it could happen. It's something I spoke with you guys about not that long ago. Dak Prescott. If the Cowboys keep going the way they're going and end up with a really high draft pick, you never know. Think what Dak Prescott could do in that offense. What he's already doing in what he was doing with the Dallas offense, but add Dak Prescott's passing ability to the 49ers run game, and that could be pretty fun to watch.
Ooh, that could be juicy.
So I'm going to come to Sam in a minute when he's having a bit of system problems there. But yeah, no, it's definitely something I think they've got to start looking on moving on to, because I think it kind of is, if he's injury prone, it's letting down the actual franchise. And I just think that at the end of the day is that they've got like somewhat like a once in a generation, they're not going to be able to assemble a team like that. It took them a long time to be able to come back. I don't think they could waste, Shanahan's, amazing plotting schemes on someone who's. I'm not saying he's terrible in any form of way. I'm not in Hannah's camp or in Dan's
No, I'm not
camp.
saying he's terrible. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's up to the standard of what that team is trying to achieve and what they have been achieving. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I don't think that's controversial to say at all. And with the way that the 49ers play, with what they achieved last season, they need an elite quarterback, I think.
I don't even think they need an elite quarterback. I just think they need a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, is available. The best ability is availability. Yeah, is available. But I just think they need someone who doesn't make bad decisions. I think Mullins isn't that bad. He just doesn't have the great arm. But they're not
going to go to Mullins.
I think, as I said, someone as simple as Sam Darnold would work well for that system. So for me, you don't need to be an elite quarterback. You don't need that. You know, when at Denver, when you had TD, you know, John Elway wasn't the elite quarterback that he was in his prime. They still won Super Bowls. So the running game is the way forward for San Francisco.
Sam, what say you, sir?
I think it's over for the 49ers, this pipe dream. I think Kyle Shanahan's obviously tried to put his cards on Garoppolo, and it's just not worked. And I think for the time being, I think they need to actually start thinking well ahead at maybe trading up for some picks. We know that Trevor Lawrence is going to be there. You just, as we just mentioned there about the cap space you're going to free up by only getting rid of him for $3 million might actually allow them to have a few sort of move some pieces around, not just trade up for the QB, but actually then put a decent offensive line that's actually going to stop the pass rush as well, because that's obviously something that keeps happening to him. And that's why he doesn't throw the ball that much, because actually I don't think that these guys actually on the offensive line are stopping it too much. He can't move out of the pocket. He can't move. We know that. So they're going to have to free up as much time from him as possible. So I think that's something they're going to need to look into. It's not just Jimmy G. I think it doesn't matter what QB you put in there at this point. I think they need to look at some other weapons that they need to change. But yeah, sad times, not, because it just means it's one less team to worry about.
No, this is personal interest is always.
Says the man wearing a Rams jersey.
Oh, I'm representing you. Like this is much love to you, much love to fanatics for sending it, but. This is I'm wearing this for you. I'm a Giant through and through, but I can't keep on wearing a losing team again and again. It's just gets depressing, honestly. Sam would know with Arsenal. So anyway, so let's Sam, I'm going to come to you with this one. With JJ Watt, obviously he's made his comments, which has put all Texans fans on high alert, saying I'm not looking to rebuild, and I think he's just basically just getting tired of change after change. Obviously, he's been there for a long time. He's been quite loyal, very good servant to the city, community, stand-up guy. But I think, obviously, understandably, he wants to, move into a team that he can possibly win, the championship or Super Bowl at least. I think that, obviously, I understand him getting tired. But before I lead you into an answer that I think would work, what do you think about JJ Watt saying that he's not looking to stay around for a rebuild?
He's fully entitled to. Like you just said there, he's put his best years in there. He's banged up as well. Like he puts his body on the line, not just for his own career, but he's doing that for the organisation. And I'm sure he's been put through games where he shouldn't have even been anywhere near the field, but he's done that. He's given them everything. And now he's looking around going, what for? What have I got to show for this? So obviously, money's been great for him, I'm sure. But after that, he's the Watt family. You look at his brothers and what they're doing, and now he's looking at one of his brothers over there in the Steelers. And he's like, what? So, and really, let's be honest, if you look at the Watt brothers, everyone says JJ before anyone else. Let's be honest. And he's just going to be like this older, disgruntled brother by the end, because I'm sure at this point, his brothers are going to pick up something before he does, if he does not move. So I think he's got every reason to do that, and good luck to him. And actually, the Texans would be probably smart to do it as well, just to allow them to do the rebuild. There's good capital there if you do trade away. So it works for both parties. And listen, he's watched D-Hop obviously go, and they're probably thinking he's one player that would never leave. It's probably now actually opened the door for him to go, actually, I'm not going to be seen as the bad guy potentially if I do move. So
this is like the opportunity that he can actually, this is the window.
If he doesn't do it now, it's done. And he isn't going to get, no team's probably going to flip a coin on to say whether he's going to be healthy in 2 years' time. They're probably going to get the best out of him maybe next year. And after that, who knows? So it's probably the best time for all parties involved that he does. And as I say, has every right to say what he said.
Hannah, get in there.
I kind of agree. I think, he's what, 31 now. He's, almost 10 years into his career. He was a defensive player of the year 3 years out of his career. He's got the talent. He's done the work. He has suffered with injuries. It's got to be said. I think he's only actually started all 16 regular season games once. But it's exactly what you say, Sammy. So you must be looking over at Pittsburgh and seeing his younger brother lighting up, unbeaten this year, powering towards, potentially a Super Bowl, and must be thinking, that's what I want to be doing. And you can't blame him for that. This season has been disastrous for the Texans. Like, it couldn't have gone worse. You think where they were sort of at the end of last year in the regular season, they can't get through the playoffs. They can't get past the divisional round. And it must be incredibly frustrating when you've got the talent. So, I completely agree. I think he's got every right to say that. If the Texans are going to, be doing a full rebuild, which it looks more and more likely that they are, if you're 31 years old, you can't stick. He's not got another 4 or 5 years in him to stick around for that to come to fruition. If he wants to win rings, titles, championships, and he's got to look elsewhere. It's just common sense. I don't think any Texans fans can begrudge him that either, because they've had the opportunity to do better the last couple of seasons.
But they're going to blame Mr. Bill O'Brien for wasting so much of the time. But yeah, Dan, what are you saying?
Look, JJ Watt is probably the greatest Texan of all time. Now, it's not saying much because the Texans organization hasn't been around for long. I think it's 2000s. But Adrian Foster's probably, you can make that shout, Adrian Foster. But I think JJ is the best is the stuff, and we have to see what Deshaun is going to be like in 10 years' time. But right now, JJ is the face of the Texan organization. He is the face of Texas. He's Mr. He's seen as Mr. America. As Tanner said, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Who forget how good he was? Double-digit sacks in his first 5 seasons before injury. He was 3rd on the MVP list, which is unheard of for a defensive player. The only person now is close to is Aaron Donald. So, he was Aaron Donald before the hype for Aaron Donald has all a bit been around. I think it's a hard one because I believe in Deshaun Watson. I don't think you can ever do a rebuild when you've got a generational talent quarterback. Can you ever say the Chiefs are ever going to do a rebuild? No, you've got Patrick Mahomes. I think it's the same thing with Deshaun Watson. So I don't think the Texans are ever going to do a proper rebuild. They are really and truly, you put D-Hop back in the team, but, D-Hop and a few defensive players, and they're right back in it. This was a team that went 10-6 last season. I think they're a solid team. They've got holes, which is down to Bill O'Brien. I still don't understand how Bill O'Brien gave up a left tackle to then acquire another left tackle for 2 first rounds. It makes no sense. He gave D-Hop away for peanuts. He's leading the league in terms of receptions.
Sam, stop smiling, please.
So for me, Bill O'Brien is jeopardized the team. I think JJ is now getting to the point where he deserves to leave. He deserves to get that shot. But JJ is also not the same player that he once was. He's not the disruptor on the defensive line as he is now. I think he's probably better on a run block than he is as a pass rusher. So we'll see. But I think he should merit his options. I think Texans organization should look, we'll let you leave for free. Go to where you want to do. He's been a great service to the Texans organization, and he's brought so much love to the Texans as a whole, to be fair as well.
So I'm gonna cut to this, which I'm really, really excited about this particular question. So now we're halfway through the season. What are your thoughts of who's been the biggest disappointment and who's impressed the most, so far this season? I'll come back to you, Dan, because you seem like you're rubbing your hands literally with excitement on this one. So let me know what your thoughts are on this one.
No, I'll try to temper my disappointment look first, because my disappointed team has probably got to be the Houston Texans, and probably the
beating down on them today, huh?
Mate, the fact is, Deshaun Watson was my pick for MVP. I thought he was going to take that team on his back. Didn't do it. They're 1-6. They've got rid of their head coach and the general manager, and basically it's the same person, but still, they got rid of both that. The Vikings are not too far off because Kirk Cousins has looked absolutely atrocious. Absolutely. For the only player to get a fully guaranteed in the history of the NFL, it's just shocking what he's doing right now. And he's a liability to the Vikings. And Mike Zimmer's a great coach, but the question marks have to be is whether or not his time's up in the Vikings, similar to Andy Reid's in Philadelphia, whether Mike Zimmer needs a new break, find a new quarterback, who knows. So I think those two have been my biggest disappointment. My biggest surprise package of the season, or I'll say player, mate, it's Joe Burrow. I did not think he was going to do that. I thought he was potentially a one-hit wonder at USC and LSU, and he's just come leaps and bounds. He's taken the Cincinnati Bengals. They've made them more exciting. That division right now has always been tough, and it's only going to be tougher. I think Baker Mayfield's the 4th best quarterback in that division already. Mate, Joe Burrow is just, mate, he's making money, mate. I ain't gonna lie, he's looking tasty. So I'm gonna have to put him as my surprise package of the season.
Sam, get in there.
I don't know how you can be disappointed about the Texans, because I thought that was always going to happen. I didn't see them having a good season, so it's not a disappointment. I think it's a standard procedure with them. Same with the Eagles. Didn't strengthen in the right way. Can't really cast them as a disappointment. I think the most disappointing team for me is actually watching what New England have actually gone and done. Now, I don't think we'd ever be able to put them in that category. I don't think years ago we wouldn't have even been having this conversation. The disappointment thing, Belichick is normally methodical in what he does, and planning. And the disappointment is he's put Cam Newton in, and he just hasn't made it. It doesn't look like it's going to work. And the disappointing thing is that I think that's now just wasted Belichick's time and Cam Newton's time, and now the whole organisation. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not going to have them maybe in the mix as we would normally, especially as that division is never the strongest as it is. So for me, there's a little bit of disappointment there based on them two and the organisation getting that right. And most impressive, I don't know how you cannot say the Steelers. Undefeated.
The Steelers are a forced undefeated team for me, mate, Sam. A force. Big Ben hasn't played. We know what Big Ben is. Their defense
that's what. So, what I'm saying is, it's 7-0. You've got to win, and you've got to beat what's in front of you every time. They've gone and done it. It hasn't been, they just scraped through it. They look comfortable, and everyone is firing. Now, I think that's a credit again to the head coach, because he's believed in the players that he's had, and they've drafted well in the players there that they've needed to. They've not just papered over cracks. They've got the full filler out there. So, fair play to them. And I don't see them losing at the moment. That's why I'm impressed. Actually, when you go and watch them, I just don't see them failing at this point.
So in comes Hannah with the chair, WWE style, to clean up house. What say you?
I don't know how you can call the Patriots a disappointment, because they got their first season with, a different starting quarterback for the first time in 20 years. And they signed him on the most team-friendly deal imaginable. This was a no-loss situation for New England. If Cam goes off, happy days. If it doesn't, it's a one-year deal costing them next to nothing. And I think as well, we have to bear in mind, he was looking great within the first 2 weeks of the season. Had the COVID diagnosis, hasn't looked right since he came back. And you can't count out either any physical lasting impacts of that COVID positive test, if there were any. We don't know what his symptoms were or weren't. You can't count out any mental aspects there might be, because, other players tested positive after him, and he's very much a player that, gets affected by these kind of things. So I don't think you can call the Patriots a disappointment, because they were such an unknown going into this season, such an unknown. I think for me, disappointments, and these are not new, these have been the same for a few weeks now. It's the teams that were so hyped in the off-season. It's the Cowboys, the Broncos, and the Colts. And across the board, Phillip Rivers isn't really doing much for the Colts at all. And they were so hyped going into the season. You look at who they've got on the team as well, and there's real promise there, but it's just not happening for them. The Broncos, I never really understood the hype. They were ravaged by injuries, and Drew Lock, I cannot understand as a starting quarterback the way he played against the Chargers. It was just bizarre from one half to the next of that game. And the Cowboys, I fell for the Cowboys hype this summer, which I never do. And that's just been as bad as it can really get for a team, hasn't it? Really, from where they were and where they were projected to where they are now, midway through the season, it's almost impressive in how bad it's gone. For me, the biggest surprises, most impressive performances, I agree with you, the Steelers. I have to say I was kind of in the camp where I wasn't sure that Big Ben would come back from that injury. And, he's getting pushing 40 now. You start to think, has he got the arm? Will it be the same? And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't actually matter, because that team is so good. They didn't play well against the Ravens last week. They were down at the half. They weren't making yardage. Their defense gave up a ton of yards, but they got the win. That is that is a championship team when they don't play well, but they still get the win against, you know, high caliber opposition, regardless of how good or bad a day Lamar Jackson was having. And the other surprise to me is Justin Herbert. You know, he gets drafted. Tyrod Taylor gets the starting job over him. You see some stuff from off-season. You see him making some throws in the training camp. You think, this kid looks good, but okay, they're going to sit him potentially this season, let him learn the craft. Gets thrown in when somehow medical personnel puncture your starting quarterback's lung, which that's gone very quiet. That's still the most bizarre way that a guy has lost that TV job, right?
Conspiracy theories.
They could have just told him they didn't want him to play. They didn't have to do all that.
I know, right? Like, wait, really sticking to a guy, literally. But I think Justin Herbert's been great. They haven't won. I mean, they still are doing what we started calling on overtime chargering, which is inexplicably losing games when you've got massive leads. But he looks great. He's making his terrible offensive line look better. He's running the ball. He's throwing a load of touchdowns. His intercepts, his touchdown to intercept ratio is pretty damn good as well. So I think, especially as he gets better and his sort of footballing intelligence improves as he gets more game time, I think he's going to look really good. So yeah, that's.
I don't know how any of you guys didn't start off with the Cowboys as a disappointment, because
they've lost two. They've lost two QBs. It's not like Dak's played. If Dak had played and they had lost, then fair enough. If obviously Dalton had come in and was still faltering, then you could blame that actually they weren't prepared. To lose two QBs at that rate, I think that's why I didn't go with it.
Being honest, if you guys got to look at 49ers, they've lost everyone. They've got the caretaker, T Lady, everyone playing for them, and they're
still drafting them.
They're still getting decent. Yeah, I know.
My thing with the Cowboys, I would say as well, part of my disappointment was watching Dak play for those first few games until he got injured. He was doing some incredible things. He was breaking records. He was on track to do so much, and that's part of the disappointment there.
I know you can't say
that's
karma to them.
I don't put the Cowboys as a disappointment because I didn't think anything of the Cowboys. I know they're America's team, as you could say, but did anyone really buy the hype? They didn't make the playoffs last season.
I fell for it.
They were strong.
Hannah did. I didn't fall for it because I'm not gonna lie. I don't listen to Jerry Jones. That man can talk to me left, right, and center. Unless he's serving a barbecue, I ain't buying it. You know what I mean? So
it is a little bit of karma. Obviously not looking after Dak. I think that's definitely come back and haunted him. And also, for most impressive, Sam, how are you not coming out with Mr. Kyler Murray? Like, geez, this guy, I am so
most impressive of the league.
Honestly, I've seen this guy work wonders, and everyone knows who's been watching the show from years back. I'm reluctant to compliment the Cardinals in any way.
That's why I didn't say it. Because you lot just be like, nah, he's doing the homer pick. But just remember, do you know what I like? I'm going to say a little thing about Kyler. He's pretty humble. The guy got interviewed and they told him, hey, you got the number one offense in the league. Didn't know that. He actually had to turn and ask, is that right? And he just smiled and laughed. This is a guy that's just having fun. And
he knew, he's lying.
He's having fun.
Sorry, if you ask Russell Wilson the same question, he spends every press conference celebrating the other guys on his team. That's not humble. That's not paying attention.
I love that.
Presidential. That is presidential.
But what we need to do before you guys get into the homer picks, because at the moment Hannah is going to stay well clear of her Rams, even though I'm representing them today in a disappointment, because they literally are just floating above that at the moment. Let's go on to, one of the questions I'm really excited to be able to know, but we're in a hurry up section of the game. So therefore I'm gonna press you guys for a quick answer. But, if you guys got your own franchise, who would be your young, we're not looking for Hall of Fame or Russell Wilson, so none of that cheating. Young quarterbacks, who would you start your franchise with? I'll start with you, Hannah.
Justin Herbert, I think he looks great. I think he's I know Joe Burrow's been playing really well this season as well, but I just think the way he's throwing the ball, the way he moves with the ball, his accuracy, the size of him and his arm. I mean, when he needs to get out of trouble in the pocket, he takes one step back and he's miles away from that line because he's got that height. I think he's got great arm talent. He's athletic. And like I said, once he's played a little bit longer, and gets used to making decisions under pressure and, you know, the constant conveyor belt of being in the league. And, you know, if he had a coach that had a bit more killer instinct to close out games, if I was starting a franchise from scratch tomorrow, I think I'd pick him.
Sam, who's yours?
Really? Kyler Murray.
Oh, Lord.
How can you not?
Actually,
You just praised him. How can you not? How can you not? Does it all. And
who else catches your attention?
Let's go first-year quarterbacks. Rookie quarterbacks. Pick up from the rookie quarterbacks.
I was actually just going to say, actually, with what Hannah was saying about Herbert, that actually watching him, he is pretty impressive. And it's the arm strength, actually. Because now they're probably actually thinking, we can go with a deep threat. Keenan Allen's actually having a field day. But I actually think, I'm not saying they're going to get a Tyreek Hill, but if they get a speed merchant up there in that organisation, they're having a field day. So depending on how you set up, I love Kyler for what he did. But, you know, if I wasn't going to go with the homer pick, then yeah, Herbert, what he's doing is impressive.
Dan, what the last word on it?
Mate, I'm going to disagree with both of you guys. It's Joe Burrow, mate. He's won in college, Heisman Trophy winner, national championship winner. He's now come to Cincinnati. Let's not lie, the Chargers had a decent team. They've got a good defense. They've got a good offense as well. So Justin Herbert's got weapons. Can you name the weapons on Cincinnati? Higgins is now starting to look like a star, but that's because of Burrow. You know, you've got Joe Mixon, but again, it's Burrow. That defense is a shambles. I think they're 30th or maybe 29th or something like that. So again, Joe Burrow is doing bits. He's making miracles happen out of nothing. You know what I mean? You give him clay, he's turning them to life. He's making Cincinnati relevant again. Let's not lie, but the Chargers were always relevant with Phillip Rivers. They are in LA. I know that it's less sexy of the LA between the LA teams. You've got the Rams who are a bit more sexy, who've got better players, just a bit more aura and swagger about them. But they're still in LA. They're still relevant. Cincinnati, mate, go to the average UK fan. Do they know where Cincinnati is? No. Do they know anything about Cincinnati? No. So for the fact that Joe Burrow is making them relevant, I've got to make, if I'm building a franchise from scratch and I don't have any key players like what the Cincinnati have, Joe Burrow, mate, he's proven it already. Justin Herbert has got talent around him. Burrow hasn't got anyone.
Each week, I always have to point our NFL fans the hate towards one of you guys, and Cincinnati fans. You know, please feel free to contact Dan and tell him exactly where you are.
That was a good time. If you're a Bengals fan, you've got in it for years. Now's the time things are going to be looking up. That's not controversial.
No. Listen, they've always had. It's not. No, they had one of the best wide receivers in that team, AJ Green, and everyone got all excited about him. Still didn't find it. I don't think that organisation can rely on one player, even if it is Joe Burrow.
No team can, but it's a start, right? A few years down the line, you put the right pieces around him.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him move on.
Mate, Drake, I'm not even throwing hate. I'm just putting facts. You know what I mean? I went to school in Indiana. I went to Purdue, Boilermaker Nation all day, every day. But let's not lie. If you ask the average UK fan where the fuck Indiana is, sorry for the language, they wouldn't have a damn clue.
There goes our money.
So for me, Cincinnati is still in the same bracket. The Midwest, they call the Midwest the crossroads of America because you're trying to get from one place, New York, East Coast, to West Coast, and you have to cross the Midwest, and that's it.
I'm gonna base my one off of just one performance, and because it's gonna get the most laughs out of it. Tua. That guy.
He did nothing. Sorry, he did nothing against the Rams. The defense on the game, he did nothing. He looked at garbage time snaps against the Jets. Well done. Reel me in.
Great, 98 passing yards in a league that is predicated on the passing game. 98 yards and 1 touchdown is not good, mate. Fitzmagic.
That was a Hall of Fame performance, and you know what? That kid's gonna go far.
How do we meet you? How do we meet you?
Right, guys. Lastly, let's go to the games you guys are looking forward to over the week. Obviously, there's lots of big games out. So Hannah, I'm going to come to you first of all. What is the one game that you're excited about this week? Obviously, we'll talk about ones that Sky are going to do. But what ones are you personally looking at?
I am so glad you came to me first, because if anyone else took this one, I was going to be really upset. The Saints at the Buccaneers. This is a huge game in the NFC South. Obviously, the Saints won when they met in week 1. You've got top 2 all-time passing leaders in the league, Brees and Brady, going up against each other. You've got Alvin Kamara against the Bucs defense. You've got potentially Michael Thomas returning. You've got potentially Antonio Brown's debut for the Buccaneers. And Brady has never been swept by divisional rivals. So if the Saints get another win, then that's, the first time Brady's been swept by a divisional rival in a season in his entire career. So yeah, I think this one is pretty damn good. If you look at how the offense and the defense as well, if you compare them, the Bucs defense is so, like, they're just so evenly matched. It's really tantalizing. And I have to say, the Saints haven't blown me away much this year, but I think if they get Michael Thomas back this week, which is still, I think, questionable at the time of recording, yeah, I think it's a big week for the Saints, and I think it's a must-win for the Bucs, because they're looking like one of the most complete teams in the league right now. So yeah, it's tasty.
Dan?
I love how Hannah's using my tasty phrase. I didn't have to copyright that.
I use that one.
I'm going to go with Hannah with that one.
No, I think without trying to sound like Homer, obviously Hannah's picked probably the game of the weekend, to be fair. I think the second one, which I think a lot of people should really look at, is the Bills versus Seahawks. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Seahawks fan, but because generally speaking, the Bills defense is solid. The Bills need to continue winning. Miami are hot on their tail right now. So the Bills aren't really got that much of a lead in their division. So I think it's going to be a good mix. At the beginning of the season, I thought that the Bills could win against Seattle. The defense is looking much improved, so I'm not entirely sure. So it's going to be a good matchup. Russell Wilson as well. He's on course to get 59 touchdowns. Usually second half of the season, he usually flatlines a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see that, especially against a good defense. And they've got decent corners as well. So we're going to see. And again, look, DK is rising. He's becoming a better wide receiver. People have been labeling him the new, Megatron. I don't think so, but let's just slow it down a little bit.
DK. He's great.
But DK is still a beast. So I think that's going to probably be one of my big games outside of the Bucs and the Saints, just because I think they match up pretty well. I think the other ones, most of the teams, they're not really matched up pretty well. I mean, I'll take the Chiefs, I'll take the Steelers, I'll take to be fair, the Falcons and Broncos, that could be that's a
You're gonna just go through every single.
No. Stop.
There are a few matchups that are really hard to call this week. I struggled doing pick'ems this week on a fair few. There are only a couple that I felt really confident in calling. Whereas the rest, there's some tight ones for wrong reasons as well as good reasons.
So Sam, quickly, what's your game you're going to?
I don't know if there's any fixtures left. Dan just done them. The Bills Seahawks definitely will be a good game to watch on Saturday. I want to keep an eye on, but I'm actually going to go with the Chiefs and the Panthers, just because if McCaffrey does make a return, I just want to see how they actually fare in that game. The Chiefs, I think that could be an interesting game. Also, just want to keep the Chiefs. See if they can actually just prove a few doubters wrong, because there's a few people creeping in saying, I wonder if they're going to repeat any success. So I'd like to just see how they get on against the run as well. And that's probably one game I keep an eye on. And also just the Colts as well, as you just mentioned there, Hannah, as whether they're going to actually bounce back with anything this week. Because as you said, they need to, keep up with their hype. Did you say from the off season? So I'd like to keep an eye on them this week. And there's been a lot of questions about their running game as well, because everyone was sort of saying, hey, they're going to sort of step that up this year, and hasn't really done it. And I think this is the week that they will have to be able to prove it, because the run defense isn't that great.
Cool. I'm surprised that no one's picking the Jags and Texans. That's going to be one hell of a game. Really looking forward to that.
What about the Giants and the Washington team? What about that? That'd be a great.
This is a suck-free team. Suck-free section at all. It's just like, that's why I'm rocking all these other jerseys except for mine, because actually, to be fair, Joe Judge, you are impressing me. I can see some momentum. So it's early days. I'll give him a chance, but for now, I'll be rocking everyone else's jerseys except for maybe the Cowboys.
You look good in a 9-9 Rams jersey.
I'm trying. I'm So Hannah,
you might grow into it one day.
Hannah, who have we got on Sky the weekend?
Well, interestingly, we've mentioned many of the Sky games because these are the standout games of the week. So the early game on Sunday, we've got the Seahawks at the Bills, which Damp picked. Then the 9 o'clock game, we've got the Dolphins at the Cardinals, which I thought you might go for, actually, Sanks. I think that's an interesting one. The Dolphins are enjoying upsetting the NFC West a little bit.
If we lose, you won't see me next week.
Okay, fair enough. And the late game on Sunday is the Saints at the Bucks, and then the Monday night game, New England Patriots at the New York Jets. Surprisingly, I will tell you this: we had outrage from quite a few people on Twitter that we weren't showing the Steelers Cowboys on Sunday night.
That was a good game. I was quite surprised on that.
Mate, that's gonna be a Mate, outside of Seattle,
stop making these predictions.
Mate, outside of Seattle, Dallas's defense is just woeful. Only Seattle have a worse defense. Mate, it's getting better. And you got Big Ben, you got Claypool, you got Deontay Johnson, you got Juju. Mate, and they haven't got a quarterback. They don't have a 4-string quarterback with that. Mate, no. Steelers defense averaging 5 sacks a game. No, that's not even worth showing on TV. That's gonna.
It's not going to be on TV. Don't worry.
As much as I can let these guys go on all day, we've got to get back to election watching. So
on the whole time.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed, guys. Nothing has changed.
So if you see me squinting through the whole thing, that is the reason why. Because literally my eyesight is blurry because I have not slept in any form of way. So anyway, we're going to be back next week. Hannah, you're back with us next week. As well. Yeah, we were just going to follow you around with the camera anyway, regardless. Anyway, and then obviously these 2 knuckleheads will be back next week as well. Check us out on www.vergemagazine.co.uk, and then obviously at Alt Sport on Instagram and at VergeMag on Instagram as well. And we will catch you guys next week. Peace.